what you would have everyone here. Amen. All right. So we are continuing this sermon series called A Song of Christmas Light. We're going through a Christmas carol. About a year ago, in my Bible study time on Thursdays, which you guys should have fun. You should come, Like that. We went through a Christmas carol, and man, we got through that, and I was like, ooh, this is probably be a pretty good sermon series. Because honestly, I had never read a Christmas carol before. I had never read it before that. I was aware of the story. I was aware of it. I'd watched the movies and all that stuff, and I knew it. But man, like hearing the words come out is just, I was like, oh, the biblical themes that are there's weaving in and out of all of this is just unbelievable. But the problem with the Christmas carol is it's not our language anymore. Sure, it's in English. You can read it. But man, it makes my brain hurt trying to read it, all that stuff. So what I do is I listen to the smooth voice of Hugh Grant read it to me on Audible. And so if you haven't read it yet, I encourage you to read through it. It's about 3 hours of your time. Like it's not a very long not a very long book. And next Sunday will be Stave 4, and then Christmas Eve will be Stave 5, or chapter 4 or chapter 5. Today we're talking about 3, and this is the ghost of Christmas present, right? But what this story is, this Song of Christmas Light, a Christmas carol, what it is, it's all about how light shines in the darkness. In Scrooge is someone who is just consumed with darkness all around him. It's fascinating how he describes the darkness of Scrooge. When he's walking up the steps of his house, he's got a light, a candle lit up in front of him, but his house is so vast that the light can't even reach the edges, right? So even though he has a light, it's like he's in darkness all the way up, right? And his old partner Marley comes up to him, and he comes and he speaks like the prophets of old and warns him, "Careful, Scrooge, you may get what you want," right? You may get what you want, as Marley shakes the chains that are connected to cash boxes. And so like that, like, be careful, you may get what you wish for, right? And he says, 3 spirits are going to haunt you. And the first spirit that we talked about last week was this ghost of Christmas past. And that ghost was like a flickering candle of light, and it was shining light into the dark recesses of Scrooge's past life. In the places that Scrooge didn't want light shine. There's a lot of places where, like, I'd prefer if light didn't get there. I'd prefer just to forget that part of my life. And he shined light there, and Scrooge finally had enough of that, and he took this giant snuffer and tried to put it over the light of that ghost of Christmas past and tried to snuff him out. It's like, hide it under a bushel. Scrooge was like, yes! I'm not going to let that shine. And he tries to stuff it out, and then Scrooge is in darkness. And he looks out and he sees like this glow of light coming out of a doorway, which should be closed. He locked everything. And he goes over there and he walks through that door, and he hears this huge guy like just laughing. And he says, I imagine he laughs like, ho, 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 by the picture of it. It's got a whole Father Christmas thing going on, right? Like he's laughing and laughing. And the movies never did this justice for me. I think they're trying to keep it family friendly and all that, and we're trying to keep it family friendly here. But the image that Dickens places on this guy, on this ghost of Christmas present, is that he's basically in a big Christmas-themed bathrobe, right? He's in a big, and like just bare-chested and all out there, just out in the open. And he's like, and there's all this fruit and all these things around him, and this, like all of this abundance is all around him. And he's like, and he comes and yells at Scrooge, "Know me better, man. Know me better." I love just the display of opulence. Like, do we all have that one uncle that is wearing his bathrobe still when he shouldn't be? Like it's like, come on, man. Like that's like, put a shirt on. Like that's, in fact, put jeans and like a polo on. Get it all on, like that. Wear a jacket. And like And I think that's the idea here. It's just this opulence, this openness is going on here. It's this beautiful picture. And he's like, know me better, man. And that's the point of this chapter of the book, is know Christmas better. Even the dark recesses of it. Because as we get to the end of the chapter and the ghost has visibly aged, Scrooge looks under his cloaks, his robes there. He looks under and Scrooge is like, that looks like a claw. What is that coming out from underneath your robes there? And he shows him underneath, there's two children underneath his robe. Two children that are like destitute and hungry and alone and like skin and bones. And he says that they are ignorance and want. And Scrooge is like, are these yours? Are these yours, Christmas? He's like, no, these are yours. These are man. And basically what he's implying is that your ignorance and desire is keeping this scene dark. Not looking at the dark research is just avoiding your gaze. Like, no, I'm not going to help out over there. I'm not going to see that struggle is existing over there. Basically, to your ignorance and wanting all the more for yourself, you're causing this to happen to all of these people. It's a dark scene. It's a dark scene. Yet the Spirit is saying to Scrooge, know me better, man. Know me better. And so the Ghost of Christmas Present takes Scrooge on this journey to know Christmas better. Where Scrooge had often, he didn't care about Christmas at all there, right? And so he takes him on this journey. He takes him all around. And I got to be honest with you guys about this chapter. When I watched the movies in the past, and I will still say a Disney's Christmas Carol is my favorite one now, okay? For research purposes, I watched a Mickey's Christmas Carol this week, all right? Like that's 30 minutes, it's fast, you can get in and out. Like that's Mickey's Christmas Carol is in that one. And it does something really well. But I've been trying to we watched Muppets last week, Muppets does a good job too. But I never really liked the Ghost of Christmas Present. It was always fine, but man, this is my favorite chapter now. And I love this chapter so much that when I watch the movies, I start tearing up. My room is always dusty when I'm watching like this. It's like, what's going on? Like that someone needs to clean this house. Like that. That's like, and it's not because of how the movies, the visual media doesn't do what Charles Dickens does in this chapter. And what my goal for today is to show you how he tells this story. And that you can see what the people, when they're making the movies, are trying to do, because it's beautiful. The first place that the ghost takes Scrooge is to Walmart or Publix on the 23rd, like when everybody is there and there's only one thing of cranberry left and there's 9 people that want it. And you know the energy, right? Like that's going over there, and people are just frustrated and yelling at each other. Like that's what's happening here. So this is the second half of the quote. I'm going to read the first, and I'll tell you when we get onto there. He goes, the sight of these poor revelers appeared to interest the Spirit very much, for he stood with Scrooge beside him in a baker's doorway, and taking off the covers of their bear's past, sprinkled incense. Remember, he has that torch? He sprinkles the incense on their dinners from his torch. And it was a very uncommon kind of torch. For once or twice, when there were angry words between some dinner carriers who had jostled into each other, he shed a few drops of water from his torch. This is the biggest baptism metaphor I've ever read, right? Like it's like the fire from this torch has water coming out on it, like onto these. He's dropping waters from this torch, from it, And their good humor was restored directly. For they said, it's a shame to quarrel upon Christmas Day. And so it was. God love it, so it was. You hear that? And like later on in the story, he takes him around. He takes Scrooge out to this lighthouse and to this ship. But this one part with the miners. And Scrooge is like, where are we? A place where miners live, who labor in the bowels of the earth, return the Spirit. But they know me. But they know me. These people who, they got the black lung, Pop, you know? They struggle, right? Always in the earth. And that ghost sprinkling the water on them. He goes, they know me. Know me better, man. Like in our Christmas story, this is Mary. This is so Mary. Like we look at Mary as this, like we kind of put her in this revered position, rightly so. Like she is the mother of our Lord, right? Like that's all this stuff. But have you thought about where she comes from? She is humble. She comes from nothing. She comes from this town named Nazareth. Nazareth literally means the place of the branches. You know how you understand that for our time and day? She's from the sticks. That's where she's from. Like that. She is literally from the sticks. Right? Like that. It'd be like if she was born in Yeehaw Junction. It's like, how does that happen? You know? Like all these things. And then she goes to Bethlehem. And think about that whole, like we talk about, she went to all these inns, part of the nativity story, all these, and she didn't have like diamond status and Hilton honors, so they're like, sorry, we're full, right? You got to park in the back, you know, like all that. Like, no, that's not even what's going on. It's worse than that. Joseph's family, who she was staying with in Bethlehem, she didn't have enough standing in that family to be able to give birth in the house. The family was like, you should really stay with the animals. You know? Like, that's what's going on. Like, she's nothing. She's humble. She doesn't have much. She's very poor. She doesn't even have enough money for a donkey. All right, this is an old Grace joke. Like, this is old time. Mary didn't ride a donkey to Bethlehem. Hopefully that doesn't destroy any of your Christmases. But you can argue about it with me. Just show me in the scriptures. Like, I don't want to see some Thomas Kincaid painting as your proof, you know? And what's funny is that whenever the church gets decorated, all these donkeys show up all over my office because of this. But that's kind of the point. She didn't have enough money to even buy a donkey. You know? That's a thing of luxury. Can you imagine if I had a donkey up here? You'd be like, man, that guy has made it. You know? Like that's you'd be looking at that donkey jealous the whole time. Like that's but she's humble, she's poor, like all these things. Like and it just mirrors so well this path that Christmas present is taking Scrooge on. And these are screenshots from Mickey's Christmas Carol. And I think Mickey's Christmas Carol shows the spirit of the Cratchit dinner the best. You know, Bob Cratchit, like it shows it best. Because and this is what's so hard about it, is that Charles Dickens talks about this dinner with such reverence and glory. But he's using all these other words that tells you that there isn't much there. It's just a humble meal. And Mickey's Christmas Carol does a great job with this. I mean, look at the goose, like sitting on that platter. Normally, like when you make a big old turkey, you're I don't know, maybe it's because I'm fundamentally weak, you know? But a real thought goes in my head, it's like, if my muscles fail as this comes out of the oven, because you're like having to do that weird thing, getting the giant turkey out of the oven, you know? and like over there, and like all of a sudden the pan like bends and everything's on the ground, and you're like 5-second rule and it's too hot, like like all those things. But like she like Miss Cratchit's not going to have that problem, Look how humble it. And then, gosh, the way that Mickey's playing Bob Cratchit. He's cutting a pea in two to enjoy the meal. Like you're getting it. So I want to take you through some of these quotes that describe this meal. So this is when the goose comes out, right? So Miss Cratchit prepared to plunge the knife into the goose breast. But when she did, and when the long-expected gush of stuffing issued forth. Now, when I cut into the turkey, right, is the big show the amount of stuffing that comes out of it? No. What's that showing us? It was so full and robust, the bird was, because they had packed it so full of stuffing. It's all just filler. And the stuffing pours out. I'm going to continue reading this quote. You won't be able to see it, but, and when the long-expected gush of the stuffing issued forth, one murmur of delight arose all around the board. And even Tiny Tim, excited by the two young Cratchits, beat on the table with the handles of the knife and feebly cried, "Hurrah!" The dinner's humble. Yet there's so much joy, even though it looks like nothing. There's enough, right? And Bob is praising the meal. Like, there was never such a goose, Bob said. He didn't believe that there ever was such a goose cooked. Its tenderness, its flavor, its size, its cheapness were the themes of universal admiration, eked out by applesauce and mashed potatoes. It was a sufficient dinner for the whole family. Is that how you describe your dinners? I know when Coley comes out of the bathroom, or we're about to go to like a Christmas party, and she goes like, "How do I look?" And if I said satisfactory, does that work? Does that not work? Like, why not? That's a perfectly good answer, right? Like, there's these things that we praise and we go above and beyond for all this, right? Like that's, and you look in that, it was a sufficient dinner for the family. You hear it? You hear it? And then we go into dessert, and this pudding comes out, and this is heart-wrenching. "Oh, what a wonderful pudding," Bob Cratchit said. And calmly, too. And Miss Cratchit would confess that she had her doubts about the quantity of the flour. She didn't have enough flour to make it. And everyone had something to say about it, but nobody said or thought it was at all a small pudding for a large family. It would have been flat heresy to do such a thing. Like knowing these quotes now and all that stuff, I watch these movies and I'm just like, it's dusty in here. Like like he's painting this picture of where the ghost of Christmas present has blessed this gathering, that when there isn't enough, there's still enough. Like that when there's not enough. And like this is the heart of our Christmas message. That even when there's not enough, there's enough. That it all comes in the midst of humbleness, and that Mary, when she's coming up in all of this, it's like she sees all of this, but she's like, but God is here even in the midst of small gooses filled with stuffing and puddings that are too small for the amount of people that are here, right? And she sings, as she sits in the quietness, she sings. Mary sings about this. And she goes, "My soul glorifies the Lord, the God who made the heavens and the earth. My being, who I am, rejoices that like the God He's my Savior. Because He has seen me. He's looked upon me. Even in the midst of my humbleness and hurts and pains. And because of that, all generations, everyone from generation to generation, they're going to look at me and they're going to read my story and talk about me 2,000 years later in Port St. Lucie, Florida. That's what she says when you read the Greek, right? But not Michigan, right, Lois? Yeah, like this. For the mighty one has done great things for me. Holy is his name. His mercy extends to those who believe, who fear him from generation to generation. Like he's performed so many amazing things, even with his arm tied around his back. He's scattered those who are proud in the midst of their thoughts. He's brought down the rulers, the kings, the principalities from their thrones, and he's lifted up the humble. He's filled the hungry with good things, but the rich sent away them empty. He's helped his servant Israel, remembering to be merciful to Abraham and his descendants forever, just as he's promised their ancestors. Such joy and abundance as God comes in the midst of humbleness, right? Like this is Christmas. This is what it is. It's not in our performance of perfect things. It's not that we finally got the party just right or the gifts just right, but it's this in the midst of the humbleness of it all that Jesus enters into the world on that Christmas in the humility of the manger. And that story stays consistent as he enters into the humiliation of dying on the cross for all of us, but rises again to give us the abundance of life. The true Christ Jesus he's not found in these palace halls, but he's found in this stable, in this manger. Not found in these kings and principalities of men, but he's found in the dirty places with those dirty tax collectors, fishermen, and thieves. It's not found with the righteous and the arrogant in faith, but found with the lame and the beggars. He's not found on some gilded throne up in the heavenly realms. He's found when he's hoisted on a cross to die for us all. And that Easter morning, the hope above hope is that on that Easter morning, he's not found in the dead and the darkness, but with that old call of let there be light. That old story that we tell of let my people go. And even with that sprinkle of water out of a flame on Christmas, he rises from the dead again to bring light and freedom to each one of you. It's not found in those golden idols that we are always trying to fashion for ourselves, but he's found in the tiny Tims of the world with their active little crutch. Gosh, talk about something that gets me in that stupid book. When he talks about the active little crutch of Tiny Tim. But I want to show you what my favorite quote in the whole book is. That's kind of how we're ending today. Bob and Tim go to church on Christmas morning, and when they come back, Bob's wife says, "How was Tim at Christmas service today?" "As good as gold," said Bob, "and better. He told me coming home that he had hoped that people saw him in church because he was a cripple. And it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day he who made lame beggars walk and blind men see." And Bob's voice was tremulous when he told them this, and trembled more when he said that Tiny Tim was growing strong and hardy. Tiny Tim is telling the truth. He knows who he is, and he knows his condition. And in his condition, he hopes that it brings hope and healing to other people. no Christmas better, man. No Christmas better. Because Christmas light is coming in. And in Dickens, it looks like a guy in his green bathrobe, all bare-chested, right? With opulence all around him, but it's also Tiny Tim going, even in my insecurities, hurts, and failures, I can let that shine, and that can bring hope to people around me. Because it's not looking into these other realms for Jesus. It's not looking at him in these places of honor and high above. It's not in the clean areas. But it's that Jesus is found in the places that our ignorance and want have left us. So know me better, man. Know me better, man. Just as Scrooge walked in to see that bare-chested Father Christmas in that night room. Know me better, man. May you know Christmas better. That you may see that the Spirit has brought this day and sprinkled His light and Spirit onto each one of you. So, as you do all your Christmas festivities, as you sit around, I don't know what you guys do at Christmas. Maybe you're sitting around all together with friends and family, roasting chestnuts on the open fire. You guys still do that, right? I don't know. Like that some of you are like, yeah, I do that. I've done that since the 40s. And, or you're sipping on some beverage, listening to Mariah Carey, and you're admiring all the stuff around us. May you remember what Tiny Tim says. God bless us. No, that's not what he says, though. That's not all of it. It's not just us. May God bless us, everyone. We'll end right there. Let's say a prayer. God, we thank you that you have blessed us so much. Lord, may we not have ignorance to the people who are around us. May we see the wants of those. Lord, may we see all of Christmas. May we celebrate with joy from on high